about 14 days ago, residents of Kasarani Estate in Nairobi were protesting over the poor road network in the area. And this is the situation in many parts of the country, even though we don't see protest. Since the formation of Kenya Urban Roads Authority in 2007, the question is, why do we still have bad roads in our towns and cities? This week on Inside Government, we are joined by engineer Cyrus Kinoti. He's the Acting Director General of Kenya Urban Roads Authority. He's going to explain to us what is KURA doing to improve and help in the regeneration of our roads in our towns and cities. Thank you so much indeed, engineer, for your time.
You're welcome.
Very good. First of all, let me ask you this. I mean, how many years down the line since, KURA came into force? Since 2007, now we're in 2020. We're talking about almost 13 years. Why do we still have potholes in our towns and cities?
First, let me welcome you. KURA is a national body under the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works. Our mandate is actually maintenance and management of roads in all urban areas across the country, and mainly focusing on county headquarters. It's true we have been in existence since the year 2007. Actually became operational in the year 2009. We have been giving our services to this country for the last 10 years. Our main focus is actually development of roads, new roads, and also maintenance of roads which are existing. If you look back into before KURA was formed, and other agencies like KURA and KENA, there was no focus on specific roads for specific agencies. So we were formed just to maintain roads in urban areas. We have made a tremendous improvement in how we have done our roads. It's only that in the past, there was a big backlog of roads to be maintained. And what we have been doing is that we have been doing a periodic maintenance of roads, that is bring the roads which are bad to fair or good status, and also developing new roads.
What would you say is the biggest challenge that you face in ensuring that the areas that are under your jurisdiction, we have better road infrastructure?
Our biggest challenge is resources, financing, that is funds. The network which we are able to reach is not as much as we'll be able to really work on. For example, the network and the urban roads under KURA is around 12,000 kilometers. But the resources we have are able to maintain around, say, 2,500 kilometers. So we need more resources for us to be able to reach out to all the network, which we are able to do. That's our biggest challenge. Another challenge we have on our roads in Kenya urban areas is rapid urbanization. And that leads to a lot of other resources and other infrastructure competing with roads. We have a lot of encroachment on our roads. We have a lot of other facilities wanting to use the road corridors. And as we try to develop our roads, we have to use sometimes a lot of other resources, our resources, not on roadworks, but on other activities, just to make sure that the corridor is clear. Like relocation of people who have encroached on our corridors because of that urban migration. The space in our towns is not enough. Everybody wants to use any available space, more so on our roads. So sometimes we also spend our resources and time trying to clear our corridors for us to develop our projects. But more so, our biggest challenge is that the resources we have are not really adequate to cover the network we are supposed to be dealing with.
So, I mean, if you have a network, a road network of about 12,000 kilometers, and your capacity is about 2,000, I mean, what becomes of the 10,000?
After the devolution, some of that network was devolved to the counties. Our network, currently as we are now, is we are covering around 4,000 kilometers. under KURA. Those we call national urban roads. It's around roughly 3,900 to 4,000 kilometers. We are able to cover around 2,500. We are not, but our desire is to cover all the 4,500.
So you would say you have about a 50% coverage?
Yes, yes, I would say that.
What happens to the other 50%?
Okay, the other 50%, you'll find that in most of them, maybe they have not really been, there are corridors which have not been developed for use. And the rest, maybe they are, we have to say, we have to find resources to deal with them because they will keep on deteriorating, and the public needs to use them. So we have to cover all the network. So the desire is to look for more and more resources to cover all the whole network.
You know, the sole avenue for raising resources for an organization like you is through the National Treasury. Are you exploring other options for you to get more resources to put up with the challenge?
Yeah. Recently, the government, through the government, we are exploring ways of using private sector financing for us to be able to do our own network. We have the annuity program, which we are using to borrow money from the private sector and be able to pay in future. We develop infrastructure now, and then you pay in future, and the public will enjoy the infrastructure which is existing. The government also has the PPP, public-private partnership, which we are exploring. It is picking up slowly. We are developing projects on that line to ensure that we partner with the private sector in the development of the infrastructure.
Do you have any road that you have put up through the annuity program or through the PPP under the belt of KURA?
I would say under KURA we have an advanced stage of using annuity to develop around almost 80 kilometers of roads in 80 kilometers spread across the various areas of Kenya. But our sister institution, one of them that is KURA, have been able to implement the first annuity program. As the one in KURA, we are just like 2-3 months to financial closure.
Which roads are these?
Several towns in the central part of Kenya, and several towns in western, 80 kilometers. In western, we have Vihiga, Kakamega County, Bungoma County, Busia County, and Vihiga County. We are doing around over 30 kilometers of roads. When you come to the Mount Kenya area, we are talking of Tharaka-Nithi County, we are doing some kilometers. Embu County, we are doing some kilometers. Kirinyaga County, Laikipia County, Nyeri County, and Murang'a County, taking another chunk of around over 40 kilometers. Total is around
80 kilometers. What will be the cost of these 80 kilometers?
The cost is approximately 5 plus 12, around 13. One is 12 plus 5, around 17 billion.
Now, the other question then comes, I mean, when you look at the revamped Roads Act that was passed by Parliament the other day, and it became law in December, it has upscaled your allocation from the fuel maintenance levy fund from about 11% to 15%. Do you think this is adequate resources, for you to carry out your mandate?
I think I want to clarify there. Our allocation was 15%. After the reorganization, it came to 10%.
Yeah, so the question was, I mean, under the reviewed act, the allocation before was 15 billion shillings. I mean, 15% of the total collection. Now it has been scaled down to about 10.2%, right? So, in a situation whereby you're not able to carry out 50% of your projects because of financial constraints, this is likely to make a bad situation worse, right?
I believe the government has good intentions to ensure that it takes care of its roads. And in the current development across the world, urbanization is taking a key role, and you cannot afford to ignore development of and maintenance of urban roads. So we have been in discussion with other arms of government to ensure that we resource enough for us to be able to make ourselves ready for people who are coming from the rural areas to come and live in urban areas. Because if you look at studies, in the next, by year 2020, you'll have 60% of our population living in urban areas. So it will be a need for us to be able to take care of infrastructure in urban areas. So unless we want to create very unsuitable conditions for people to live in, I believe our government has got very good intentions to ensure that we are able to make sure that our urban areas are habitable and compete with other cities across the world.
If your budgetary allocation, from the levy fund, has been slashed by about almost 5 basis points, what will this mean to the maintenance of roads in urban centers?
We have to optimize on what we have. That's what we are doing, working with the county governments. Because when our budget was reduced, the county governments got...
The allocation to county
governments they got 15% actually across the country. So we expect them to plow back that money to maintenance of roads and bridging the gap which was left by that reduction of a percentage. Actually, what was reduced went to the counties.
But the roads that you are supposed to take care of as KURA, still remains. You didn't have a chunk of your roads also being taken to counties, so you still have your workload, but financial allocation, was decreased.
Part of the network which we are working on was devolved. Part of it was devolved across the sector, across the, not only for KURA, across the road subsector. We have been handling that challenge of inadequate resources, but we try as much as possible to improve the conditions of our road. Look at what we did in these lands the other day, the Nairobi regeneration program. We concentrated our resources on these lands, and these lands now they have got super roads with a lot of enough walkways for people to walk on, and emerging the people of these lands, where we invested a lot to use the roads for the purpose for which it is intended for. If it is a walkway, let's walk on it. Let's not put other object or do some trading or other activities on the road. If they can be used for the purpose is intended, then mobility in these lands, we can say, is very good. And our aim is to do a Nairobi program like that, a phase 2 of it. Target another area where roads are not, they are banned, like maybe Kasarani area, Mwiki area, and do a regeneration, whereby we just regenerate our roads, improve them to like a new condition. We call it engineering. You bring them to almost increase their residual value, become like a new road, which now the maintenance goes down, and we're able to put their resources in other areas. So that's what we are targeting on. Instead of just patching potholes all the time, the strategy we are doing is that we upgrade the roads and reduce the level of maintenance. That way, our funding gap is somehow not felt.
It's good you brought in, the issue of regeneration, and anybody who walks around, Nairobi, will tell you that roads are in bad shape, because of the long rains, that we have been experiencing. What are you planning to do about this?
After the unusual, anticipated long and heavy rains, we knew that the roads will get a big toll. They will be affected and will get bad roads. So we planned ourselves, for example, like Nairobi, through our own budgetary allocations, we have allocated 1.7 billion Kenya shillings just to counter the effect of the heavy rains. We have around 21 contractors who we have procured, local contractors on the ground, moving all over and raising those areas which were affected by the heavy rains. It will take time for it to be felt because we may not be able to spread on all the roads. But what I can assure the public is that we are using the resources we have, mobilizing more resources from wherever we can to ensure that the effect of the heavy rains is not felt, either in Nairobi and in other areas, in other towns across the country. If you go to any town now, we have KURA contractors starting work after the rains to ensure that the public is not really is not affected by the effect of the rains. Go to Mombasa, go to Nakuru, go to Meru, everywhere. We are prepared. We have contractors who are already starting to repair those roads.
But it's a fact that the rains have not stopped. Actually, we'll get, even if they were to stop this week or next week, then in the month of March, it will just be 1 month, and then we get into another long rains period.
That's why our interventions are such that first we have to make the roads passable, and then the maintenance we are doing is sustainable. So that when you do a road, we don't have to come back to do it in March after March rains. That's our focus, periodic maintenance. So that whatever we do, it can last for if not other factors constant, for almost 5 years with minimal maintenance. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but we need more and more resources for us to be able to cover all the urban areas.
When you ask, the Kenya Roads Board, they will say that about 40% of all roads in this country would be considered to be substandard. How are we addressing this?
Maybe I would say use a different language. They are in either fair or poor condition. Mm-hmm. The roads may not be substandard, but you work with the resources which you have. And we are trying as much as possible to ensure that the roads which are maintainable, they remain in that maintainable condition, and bring more and more kilometers to maintainable condition so that we reduce our expenditure on what we call heavy maintenance. And we are left with maintenance, called routine maintenance, drain cleaning, maybe pothole patching here and there. Mm-hmm. And the way you are going, I see as reaching there, whereby make sure all the roads which you have are maintainable. If you look at the contracts which we are giving out now, there is a program we call the low volume CO program. We are giving a contractor to do construction of a road, construction for 2 years, and maintain that road for 8 years.
So for 10 years?
For 10 years, that road won't be able to go there to do anything. Then we have this aspect of performance-based contracts. We give you a road, you maintain that road, and we pay you at the service level. We don't measure anything. You say you are there for 3 years. If even you want to go to 4 years, we pay you by making sure the service level of the road is okay. We don't care. We make sure that the drains are clean, no potholes, nothing. That way, we are able to optimize the resources you have for maintenance.
One of your flagship project is the Outer Ring Road, 16 kilometers. If you go through that thoroughfare, you see that it needs some maintenance. And a lot of people, there was even an article in one of the local dailies that it is Nairobi's most dangerous road. Well, I don't know the criteria that they used. But would you say that this road, or what you would call the Outer Ring Road, was done to the best of our abilities as a country?
I would say so very confidently. What happened, this is a contract covering from Eastern Bypass to the GSU, around 13 kilometers, a distance which on average it used to take 2 hours to move from GSU junction to join the eastern bypass, at where we used to have the former Taj Mahal, the Taj Mahal. Now, it takes an average of 13 to 14 minutes to do the same distance. That shows clearly this road has had an impact on what is happening there. We opened the road for traffic, motorable traffic, when there were other activities which were left. You know, we do roads not only for motorized, also for non-motorized traffic.
In this case, you're talking about pedestrians, cyclists, and so much.
Because of there was a decision to open up the road before you could finish some of those facilities. That's why people maybe thought now there are no bus bays, there are no footbridges, but we knew in your mind the vehicles are using the road. We designated crossing areas, even sought the help of the police for us to be able to make sure that the traffic has got, the pedestrian traffic has got crossing points. Before we came on, with the footbridges. We are supposed to install 11 footbridges across the whole 13 kilometers. As of now, 7 are ready for use, and 4 are being installed. One of them, we had an issue with the location because of stakeholders. We have engaged them. They have allowed us. Now we have agreed we are going to put the footbridges. The reason why people are saying maybe the road is not well designed, because they're saying it is a high-speed road, but there are no footbridges for people to cross. But now they have seen the footbridges are there. Mm-hmm. The challenge we are having as people who have experience in working in urban areas is people don't want to use those footbridges. I think as the public also needs to realize that it is for their own safety that they have to use those footbridges. Because you find somebody just going over a guardrail, then running across the road, and you're just running under a footbridge. And that person knows they are risking their life. But for now, that situation, that perception, I believe, to the public, has changed. Because initially they were not seeing those footbridges, now they are seeing them, and they are using them. And for those who are not using, please, I urge them, it's for their own safety, for them to use the footbridges. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's talk about payment to contractors. What has been the challenge?
Kenya Urban Roads Authority is a parastatal. It depends mainly on grants from the government. We pay contractors depending on releases from the National Treasury. And I would say in KURA we have not had serious challenges of not paying contractors. Because every time we get our allocation, within 2-3 days we release the money to the contractors. If you ask around, most of the contractors have not had serious complaints. What normally happens is also now the budgetary allocation may not be enough for us to be able to work with the speed of some contractors. Some work ahead of us. So you realize that we have a budget ceiling, and we may not be able to pay even for if they work ahead of us. We're not able to pay beyond our budget.
Mm-hmm. As we wind up, so I mean, when you look at in the last 10 years, the government says that it has spent about 1 trillion shillings, on maintenance and building new roads. That's amount to about 100 billion shillings every year. What do we need to do, to deal with the backlog, of roads that are supposed to be constructed, which is almost 400 billion shillings?
I think number one, we need to optimize the resources which we have. Number two, we need to prioritize the project so that you can know if you develop projects or which may not even be economically viable, because we depend on the money we have. We are investing. Take a road as an investment. Mm-hmm. When you invest, you expect returns from that investment. And I would say investing mostly in urban areas, the returns are higher because that is where the economic activities are centered. So one of the ways we can do is we can try and invest more resources in urban areas, the activities in our economic urban areas become economic hubs, and we are able to generate money to go and develop other areas of the country. That's one way we can be able to bridge that gap.
And you know, about 2 years ago, you unveiled a plan of installing an intelligence traffic management system, and you did some work around the ring road in Kililisho. Since then, we had to see any other road. Are there other roads, you know, planned for this kind of system?
Yeah, there are plans. Nairobi itself only has got around over 400 junctions. And if you look at the city of Nairobi, for it to be a smart city, one of the characteristics of a smart city is smart mobility. And smart mobility is not a matter of number of rules you do, it's how does traffic move around, the management of traffic movement. We cannot be left behind as a country and as the city of Nairobi not utilize on technology, the artificial intelligence for us to be able to manage our traffic. And that's our focus. What we did at the Kilimani area was a pilot project for the government through KURA for us to learn and get experience on how intelligent transport system works. Now with that experience, and I would say, in KURA here where we are sitting in this office on that floor, we have a traffic control center, which is not anywhere else in this region. Those junctions you see at Kilimani there, Kireresha, we control them from here. We are able to increase the length time in a junction manually.
Almost 25 kilometers away.
Yes. And the junctions themselves, the traffic signals we are put there, they are also intelligent. They have artificial intelligence. They will see traffic in one arm of the junction. It is a lot. In the next cycle, they will count the vehicles. In the next cycle, they will give more time to the junction, which has the arm which has more vehicles. So that's what we are calling now the intelligent traffic control system. We want to roll out that across Nairobi, the whole of Nairobi. We are starting with first putting up a modern traffic management center, which can be able to take all those junctions, so that it is going to be traffic control center. It can control the public transport, the buses, the railway, the commuter rail, and all that. We put them in one center. Then we collect a lot of data on our traffic. We have a phase 2 where we are putting up the traffic control center, the management center, and then signaling around 25 junctions, connecting them to the center. We will use ours here as backup when that one starts operational. Then we have a phase 3 where we are targeting another 100 junctions. We have a phase 4 targeting another 100 because we can't roll out all of them at the same time. But what we are trying to do is making sure that Nairobi is a smart city in terms of traffic movement.
Finally, what is the future of road networks in our urban places?
The future is we want to offer efficient and effective traffic movement, whereby we are going to facilitate movement for economic development, recognizing that 80% of our economy is generated in urban areas.
Thank you so very much indeed for your time.
Thank you very much. Pleasure talking to you.
Asante sana. Engineer Cyrus Kinoti is the Acting Director General of Kenya Urban Roads Authority, joining us tonight on Inside Government to update us on the current state of our roads in our urban centers. You have heard it from him. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you so much for your time. We do these on Thursday next week. Until then, enjoy the rest of the programming.